Let's talk about John, because you and I, we've had some conversations about this through the years,
Yeah.
but not many. And I'm really interested to know about your experience in combat. And in particular, I want to tell you what it was, what it was like from my perspective, and then like what I was seeing you do, and then you tell from your perspective. So the way I remember it, John, was I think you were on a ship somewhere in the Pacific at the time when 9/11 happened.
Yeah, I'll walk you through it real quick, and
Yeah.
I'll get to the IOC part quickly. But it was the 15th MEU, U.S. Peleliu. Married in July, you were there, and then we left San Diego mid-August. A couple weeks later, September the 8th of 2001, we're in Australia training. Get everything back onto the ship. We had a night of liberty. We're acting like Marines having a good time out in town. We're in Darwin, Australia, trying to make the most of it. And we were all on a big old phone bank of phones talking to our wives and fiancés and mothers and whatnot. And that's right when the planes hit the towers. I was talking to Carrie, as all my other, roommates were talking to their wives, and it all happened and erupted at the exact same time. So you can imagine this little cow town, it was a scene out of a movie. Everybody's getting rides back to the ship, hanging out of trucks, and 10 people squeezing into cabs to get back to the ship. War talk, and fast forward, we end up in the Arabian Sea. We were starting.
Not to interrupt you, but there was a time I remember where you used to be able to email some of your friends from the ship, and then all of a sudden, none of us heard from you for months. You just went completely silent for months.
Yep. And they shut down email. And what I could email, it was kind of like just watch CNN or watch Fox News and send me as much Copenhagen and instant coffee that you can fit in a package, which is the truth. Yeah. Which, interestingly enough, I think it was, if we get into November, so about Thanksgiving, we were in Jacobabad, Pakistan. And some people.
How did you get? So you go from Australia to the Arabian
Sea? We're an amphibious ready group. So it's a big marine kind of helicopter carrier, and a couple other support ships. One that holds the Amtraks, and one that holds the little small black boats. And the carrier holds all the helicopters and the Harriers.
Yeah.
And I was always in a helicopter company. So that's how we would get to wherever we needed to go. So some people.
When did you know, John? When did you know I'm going to war? When did you first? When did that realization first? Like, I am going into combat.
We all thought we were going. As soon as the planes hit the towers, we knew that we were the lucky guys at the right place at the right time. That we were there. Our purpose in life was to do exactly what we did. We were the most forward deployed, ready, unit of any service that's conventional, that could influence the situation.
So your unit was truly the tip of the spear when it came to the Afghan war. I mean, your unit was there before pretty much anybody, correct?
We prepared, Southern Afghanistan for all follow-on forces to come through.
Talk about how you did that. Yeah.
Well, mind you, I'm talking about conventional. So we had force reconnaissance. We had, I guess what we called battalion reconnaissance. We were all special operations capable, but there was the CIA that was there. And there were other Delta type operators, and there were SEALs that were there before us. Yeah. In essence, preparing what was called a forward operating base, a FOB. This was called FOB Rhino, little desert airstrip in the middle of southern Afghanistan, about an hour south of Kandahar. And, our mission was really to set up a blocking position, because the coalition forces were pushing the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda south through Afghanistan. And we were this blocking position to the south, so that, nothing could move south down through Afghanistan. So ultimately we took over Kandahar as well, which I think Will Hurd mentioned the other day. It was all part of that same operation early on. So yeah, it was Thanksgiving Day or day before Thanksgiving, and we left Pakistan and we inserted into FOB Rhino like at 2 a.m. And it's all holy hell's going on. There's just rotor going everywhere. There's planes landing, there's helicopters landing. I cannot believe nobody got hurt, because you couldn't see anything. You carry and
truly the fog of war, right?
Yeah, Yeah, and you're carrying so much blessed gear, you can barely move. We were 81s, and so we had heavy or medium-sized mortars and all of our ammunition
Yeah.
and all your small arms ammunition and grenades and smokes. And because they said you need to be prepared to survive for 60 days with limited resupply.
Yeah.
So it was like, shit, well, I'm going to throw away some underwear so I can fit more logs of Copenhagen in my pack.
So what are you thinking, John? I asked Blake this, I asked Toby this, I asked Nick Calt this. What are you thinking when it's actually for real? Like when you're actually going in to a hot combat zone, what is going through your mind? Is it excitement? Is it fear? Is it a combination of the two? I mean, what's going through your head when you know this is no longer a drill? I'm actually going to go where people might be shooting at me.
My experience is different from those that you mentioned because this was the first. I mean, the way we all looked at this is that we were fortunate. This is our purpose. This is what we trained for.
Yeah.
And finally, we get to do it for real. And I don't have to just go on a libo cruise, meaning nothing happened. You come back home. Like we consider ourselves lucky that our number got called. And looking back on talking with Matt Good and people like that, they were all, congratulatory.
Nice.
That's a different mindset than after you've gotten beat, hit the nose a bunch of times, whether it was up in northern Afghanistan or whether it was, in Iraq or, where things really got nasty and lots of men and women got hurt and killed. So I'm in a different point of kind of where this, both of these wars happened. So nothing really bad had happened. So I give you that background because there definitely was not scared. It was just, if anything, I was just nervous about when the time came that my platoon was tested, could we succeed?
Yeah.
If there was any fear, it was that. I wasn't worried about my life. I wasn't worried about, getting hurt. It was just, are we going to be successful when we're truly tested? And I think that's part about being external.
Yeah.
Versus the internal, and you're trained that way. So that's the best answer I can give you. Other than we were tested one time, and fortunately, we would run these drills every night before it got dark, before everything kind of settled down, just so if we got hit in the middle of the night, it wasn't the first time we touched our mortars, in 4 or 5 days. So. Yeah. Fortunately, that paid off. The unit performed flawlessly, and it was great. But that same feeling that I had isn't necessarily. I mean, I had to send some Marines back to the ship. They were wigging out. They were
really,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there was reports. All of the intel coming in. They were doing everything they could to keep us, prepared and alert. Like Taliban or. There's patrols that are out there and they can infiltrate through your lines, and they know that we sleep in fighting holes. They know that we sleep in tents. So they're going to be shooting, a foot or two off the ground. And it just, because it was early, nobody had, at least the young guys hadn't been conditioned or, that's a lot to take in if you're 18, 19 years old.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No doubt.